Now, Tampon Tim has been getting roasted online and now it's offline. He's been making his rounds through the media for whatever reason, I guess for damage control, because I'm not sure if you know this, but Tim Walz, Tampon Tiny Tim Walz, he's actually running for re-election for a third term. And during the middle of his campaigning, this explosion happens where all of this fraud is exposed and revealed. Now, in this video, you're going to hear from President Trump, Christy Nome, but you also gonna hear from Elon Musk, who weighed in on it. And but wait till you hear Tim Walz just completely melt down when he's confronted with what's going on in his home state. This video, we do more of a deeper dive into what's going on and to kind of let you in on some things. And I do got some a funny clip in there that when you see it, you'll understand exactly why I say it's funny. But this is serious. We got over $1 billion worth of taxpayer money gone. You've got Somalis like Ilhan Omar standing up saying that she's not going anywhere, and that she's a Somali girl and America does whatever she says America should do. And it's like, really? Well, she's FAFOing right now. So we're going to start this off. Check this out from Trump's ninth cabinet meeting within his first 10 months. I think Joe Biden had something like 2. And the second one was ran by Jill and Hunter Biden. Joe didn't even sit at the head of the table. Jill did. So let's watch how a president gets down. But in this clip, Trump won't open his mouth. Check this out.
You told me to look into Minnesota and their fraud on visas and their programs. 50% of them are fraudulent, which means that wacko Governor Walz either is an idiot or he did it on purpose. And I think he's bold, sir. He brought people in there illegally that never should have been in this country, said they were somebody that they're not. They said they were married to somebody who was their brother or somebody else. Fraudulent visa applications, signed up for government programs, took hundreds of billions of dollars from the taxpayers, and we're going to remove them and we're going to get our money back. You told me to look.
Now, did you notice how Trump didn't sit up until she called him an idiot? You see, Trump is sitting back, and I'm going to let you see what she said that got him to sit up, where he said, I like this. Look, he's sitting back. Look at this.
Or he did it on purpose. And I think he's bold.
It was when she called him an idiot. That got Trump.
Did it on purpose.
He sat up. So as you see, the gloves are off. Now, Trump, Tim Walz runs around always talking about ICE and the Gestapo and all of this stuff. Look at the squad. This is the squad that Tim Walz has in Minnesota. And during the shutdowns in 2023 is when this happened. I want you to pay attention to what happens to people in Minneapolis that are out on their front porch just enjoying the evening. This will blow your mind. Then we're going to get into the Tim Walz clips. Check this out.
Oh, there's more. Look at this. They just keep coming.
Oh, go inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get your whole thing! Let's go! Light him up! Go inside now! Get in the hole!
Get in, get in, get in, get in, get in, get in. Get in.
Oh, God, that hurt.
Are you okay?
Right on the fucking crotch.
Are you okay? You got hit?
I'm good. They're fucked for that, dude.
Now, that's why the Democrats want to take away our Second Amendment rights. That's exactly why they do it. So stuff like this. And as you see, it says, as Tim Walz calls ICE agents the Gestapo for detaining illegals, remember, this is how he ordered his law enforcement in Minnesota to treat law-abiding Americans during the lockdowns. That's what this is. The Democrats are projectors. They project out anything that they're actually doing on other people. Now, this right here, this is where you're going to hear about in Minneapolis. The head of the Chamber of Commerce, more corruption in Minnesota, Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce CEO, Jonathan Winhagen, pleads guilty to embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now check this out.
Why'd you do it, Jonathan?
No comment, guys. You have a good afternoon.
What do you want to say to the families of those 3 kids?
No comment, guys. Have a good afternoon.
Former Minneapolis Chamber CEO Jonathan Winhagen pleaded guilty to mail fraud to bring his $213,000 embezzlement case to an end. That includes $30,000 that was meant to be reward money to Crime Stoppers to help solve the shootings of 3 Minneapolis kids. Winhagen also admitted fleecing 2 businesses of $60,000 they thought was going to all of Minneapolis, the political action committee that supports Mayor Jacob Fry. Winhagen could get 2 or 3 years in prison when he is sentenced at a later date. I'm Lou Ragoose. Follow for more.
So in Minnesota, not only we got the Somalis, we got the CEOs of the Chamber of Commerce and whatnot. Now, let's listen to President Trump as the reporters are going to try to double down on when he called Tim Walz. He called them retarded. And I know that that's a phrase that offends a lot of people, but here's the thing about that. People don't even use that to associate with disabled folks anymore. Now, when I was younger, I'm 47, people would throw that word around and it actually was associated with somebody because we didn't have all of these labels that we did then. But I'd say for the last 15 years or so, people, we call them special needs or call it autism or Down syndrome, whatever it is. But nobody runs around using that word on people anymore. So for folks to get so offended by it, it obviously means that some way they're associating an individual with that word because it's just a word. But I understand that it does offend some people. But here's what President Trump had to say when they tried to get him, when they doubled down on him saying that. Check this out.
Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
You don't think that
you have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
Mr. President,
He said, yep, he didn't back down on it. Neither should he. Now, in this clip here, check out what Kirsten Welker has to say about that particular word with Tim Walz. Check this fairly out. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up because I will never ask you for a cash app, a super chat, or a donation. You hitting that like button and hitting that hype button really does help the channel. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And once you do, to make sure that YouTube sends you the notification when I upload videos, make sure that you hit the notification bell and select all. When you select all, YouTube will make sure that you get notified when I upload new videos.
I'm here with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, otherwise known as Tampon Tim. Welcome to the show, Governor.
Good to be with you, Kristen. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Governor, let's get right to it. President Trump called you a earlier this week. And I guess my question is, are you a governor? I mean, to be honest, you do look a little bit retarded, Governor. You kind of act weird all the time. Then you do shit like deciding to put tampons on men's bathrooms. You think President Trump might actually have a point here, Governor, that you might actually be a
Well, I actually
We seem to be out of time, Governor. Thank you for joining us. Have a nice day.
Obviously, you know that was it's fake, but I thought it was funny and I wanted to share it. So, but let's listen to what Tim Walz does have to say when he's questioned about the fraud in his state. And as always, he does what every Democrat does, and you know what that is: deflect and pivot. But check this out.
When the president of the United States sets up and tweets 150 times after midnight and targets certain people, it's not a coincidence that they're targeting Minnesota. We certainly welcome those investigations. They've been done by all of you and they've been done here. We certainly want to know that, but it's also the transportation secretary who is threatening to withhold our federal dollars. Look, that's who they are. This is who they are. We welcome anybody who wants to help us. We're fixing it. And I said, Minnesotans know us and our team. We led us through COVID. We led us through George Floyd. We brought our economy to one of the best in the country. And we'll tackle this. Other governors have dealt with fraud. I want to make sure I'm the last one that has to deal with it by putting these things in. If they want to help us, I welcome that. I think they do an investigation, find out. But I don't think anybody in here really believes their motive and their timing is about actually doing something about this, much like
what difference does it make when the timing is? And why do these people always bring up George Floyd? Oh, we got us through George Floyd. The Democrats made George Floyd dying like he was some martyr. He was a felon drug addict that overdosed. Now, the knee on the neck thing, that was pretty aggressive, but that's not what took his life. But these folks like to project that. That just shows how out of touch these fools are.
The legislature. They had every opportunity to do investigations. They had every opportunity to do their oversight. They chose not to. The very legislatures that are required to do an audit have not done their own audit. The very legislature that has Republican legislators accusing other Republican legislators of fraud in the PPP program, the federal program, demonizing an entire population and lying to people about the safety and security of this state is beneath that. And I will just add, as a teacher and as a parent, the absolutely pathetic usage of a slur. Not to me. I don't care what he calls me. He calls me many things. But don't think that doesn't hurt our children. Don't think it doesn't hurt people who are dealing with this. And this is not normal. It's not both sidesism. We're solving problems. We're making life more affordable. We're talking about bringing people in. and we're getting this. They need to focus on the war crimes that are coming up. They need to focus on making life more affordable. They need to focus on the issues they're dealing with. We just had a state dinner for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who is directly responsible for the murder of American journalists. That seems to me to be something Republicans should be concerned about, because that is factual, based, and researched and verified.
These people are so disingenuous. That's also the reason why our gas prices will be reduced, because we get our oil at a better price. Listen, what happened with the journalists is unfortunate. It is sad, but this is the real world where we have to be diplomatic with different people around the world. I would say that there's not a country on this planet that hasn't taken the life of somebody that was from someplace else that other country could hold a grudge against them. But would that be what's best for the country? Yes, you're devastated about the loss. Yes, you want to avenge the loss, but at what cost? And that's why Democrats should never be in leadership again, because these folks would have treated the Saudi prince like a piece of crap, and barrels of oil would have went up to $250 a barrel, and gas prices would have went to $10 a gallon for regular. Right now is the open enrollment period for healthcare, which is why I want to take a moment to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video and partner of the channel, Chapter. Chapter is helping seniors right now who are confused. Some are just new to having to get Medicare. Others who already have Medicare but want to make sure they got the best Medicare plans available. I highly encourage you to reach out to Chapter. Chapter has highly skilled, unbiased agents that are helping seniors make sure that they've got the best Medicare plans available, because it sucks to find out your prescriptions are no longer covered and your doctor is no longer in network on the plan you currently have. The phone call is absolutely free, and it could go as quick as 20 minutes. In less than 20 minutes, you can find out to make sure you got the best Medicare plan available. And the great news about it is that Chapter has been helping seniors save as much as $1,100 a year, making sure they have the best Medicare plan. So I'm sure you can find something to do with an extra $1,100 in your pocket. So don't waste time. It's extremely important to protect yourself and protect your health. So give Chapter a call or follow the website at askchapter.org/realpolitics and make sure you've got the best Medicare plans available. But that just shows his and then if you notice, he took no accountability, none. Not at all. Did he say, you know what? I should have this, that, and the other. Matter of fact, and to show you how piss poor his judgment skills and leadership skills are, here's the two where they're talking about when Joe Biden got through with that debate. He's going to give his analysis, and then he's going to talk about Trump the other day. Now, he looks so stupid after Trump with the MRI, he looks this. And now all of a sudden, all of them are health experts, where Joe Biden was half dead in the White House. And they said, he's as strong as an ox. He's doing backflips. He's running around all of his employees. Then after he's gone, books come out. Movies are being made about how much they manipulated the media, how much they lied, and how horrible Joe Biden was. But watch this POS cap, and that's what the young kids call it, lie, for Joe Biden, but he's going to try to, call out Trump. He's a clown. Check this out.
I think he's fit for office.
Yes, fit for office. President has three and a half years of delivering for us, going through what we've all been through. None of us are denying. Thursday night was a bad performance. It was a bad hit, if you will, on that. But it doesn't impact what I believe he's delivering. So look, it's clear the president's fading physically. I think the mental capacity, again, ranting, crazily at midnight on Thanksgiving about everything else. There's reasons for us to be concerned. This is a guy that randomly says the airspace over Venezuela is closed. He's ruminating on if you could win a nuclear war. Look, this is a serious position. It's the most powerful position in the world. And we have someone at midnight throwing around slurs that demonize our children. And at the same time, he's not solving any of the problems. So I'm deeply concerned that he is incapable of doing the job.
And I knew that they were going to do this. I knew the Democrats were going to start doing this crap. For 4 years, we watched Joe Biden shake hands of people that wasn't there, fall all on the stage, fall going up the steps. Call Zelensky Putin on the global stage, and every Democrat would say, yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's all right. Even after Trump was in office, you got Cringe, and I know her name is Cringe Jean-Pierre, still going on doing interviews talking about how Joe Biden could have been president again. You got Kamala Harris still running around saying that, it was just, it's hard when you're doing a campaign. That's nonstop. And then the interviewer said, well, isn't being president of the United States like that too? But for 4 years, these people are delusional. So he felt Joe Biden was still fit. He was delivering for the American people. High inflation, 20 million people coming over the border. Crime was rampant. But now Trump, who is strong as an ox, who's making decisions, who we see is leading the country, who's got one of the best cabinets in the history of the country, but he's concerned about his health, and we need to look at his health. This is why I don't understand how anybody votes for Democrats. They literally bank on their voters being ignorant and dumb. This is why they wanted the Board of Education to stick around, because they know that they can keep dumbing children down and dumbing them down, and they won't even understand what the words mean that Democrats throw out like fascist. Trump's a fascist. Well, only an ignorant person will think that and not look at Joe Biden forcing people to take a poison or lose their job. Y'all know what I'm saying. Now check out him in this interview with Kirsten Welker, where she's gonna put him on Front Street and kick it off with the fraud. Watch how this dude just wiggles out, and he does what Democrats do. You already know what he's gonna do. Pivot. Check this out.
Well, speaking of the Somali community, President Trump is targeting them and your state in part. He's citing fraud as the reason for his crackdown. Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And
I'm sorry, I got to stop him right there, because they didn't put anybody in jail. As y'all know, the federal government is the one that came down and pressed those charges. But you see how disingenuous he is just off of that. He's acting like he did. He had nothing to do with it.
Well, note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can, but to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy. And as you heard Senator Kelly say, this president has cut a lot of inspector generals. He's cut programs that could help us tackle this on. So we'll take it on. We'll put folks in jail. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care what your religion is, your color. If you're committing crimes, these are programs that were meant to serve students with autism, to housing, and to making sure people had enough to eat. There's a reason Minnesota ranks as the top. Lowest childhood poverty, best place for children to live. People are taking advantage of that. They're going to prison. That is totally disconnected with demonizing an entire group of people who came here fleeing civil war and created a vibrant community that makes Minnesota and this country better. But that's Donald Trump. Deflect, demonize, come up with no solutions. He's not going to help fix anything on fraud. My God, there's a big difference between fraud and corruption is something he knows about.
See, these folks are just so disingenuous. When he speaks, you ever listen to some of these Democrats speak and your skin's crawling? I don't want y'all to think that I watch this stuff and don't feel like I just want to jump through the screen and just start, you know what I'm saying, smacking this man around. You know, that's the reality. But look how he deflects and he lies. He's acting like he did something to police the state. Now, let's listen to what Elon had to say. Elon Musk weighed in on it, and his take, you know, as always, he's a billionaire. This man is in the know, and he gets information. Check this out.
Imagine waking up to headlines that your tax dollars, money meant to feed children, house seniors, and support families were stolen. Not once, not twice, but hundreds of times across one state. And now, the very people who promised accountability are the ones under fire. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the billion-dollar fraud wave, shaking Minnesota, the same state led by Tim Walz and represented by Ilhan Omar. What's emerging is a stunning web of shell nonprofits, fake aid programs, and political silence that reaches far beyond one city. Let's unpack how this all started, why the media prefers to stay quiet, and what it means when the watchdogs of power become part of the story. We're going to walk through something that should concern every American, but especially those of us who've been around long enough to remember when public service meant something. We're talking about Minnesota, a state that over the past few years has become ground zero for what federal investigators are now calling one of the largest public fraud operations in modern American history. We're talking about possibly over $1 billion in stolen funds. Programs designed to help the most vulnerable were turned into cash machines for criminals. And two names keep surfacing in the background of this unfolding disaster: Governor Tim Walz and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
I mean, it's like that. Now, what happened though, after all of this came out, one of the departments in Minnesota they decided that they made a post and they let it rip and said Tim Walz not only knew he was a part of it, he was helping it, he allowed it, they brought all of the stuff to him, and he refused to do anything. As a matter of fact, he retaliated against people. But so check out what these people have to say that actually work for Minnesota, in Minnesota, and they lay it out on Tim Walz. Check this out.
Hundreds of DHS employees in Minnesota are calling out Governor Tim Walz, holding him 100% responsible for a $1 billion fraud scandal in COVID-era child nutrition programs. Writing online, we let Tim Walz know of fraud early on, hoping for a partnership in stopping fraud. But no, we got the opposite response. Tim Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers. Tyler, your response?
I think this is absolutely infuriating. And we deserve so many answers from Tim Walz on this, because he's not just being accused here of not investigating fraud. He's being accused of silencing whistleblowers, of delegitimizing them to the media, and then also of choosing people for these roles who are not competent to do the job and who are not going to trace down the abuse and the fraud.
Hundreds of.
So as you heard, it's something like 480 of the employees, and they did a long post on X. If you get a chance, go try to find that. And what happened is, after Tim Walz found out, all of a sudden X took it down, took the whole account down, and the people went crazy because it had something like 40 million views on it. X did restore the post, and they came back, but they say there's serious retaliation going on. So while Tim Walz and you got Ilhan Omar coming from this destroyed third world country, always talking about how bad it is in America and how bad people are, while her own people are literally there killing each other. She's funneling money back to one terrorist group that's fighting against the other group that are both trying to gain dominance in Somalia, that does not have a government there. There's no government. So I get it. The people were trying to flee, but they should have came and did it the right way. Now they can thank that big mouth Ilhan Omar for them being sent back, and the fact that they took over $1 billion. And Tampon Tim, even in that question, refuses to take responsibility. He actually said he takes responsibility for arresting people. You notice that? Not the fraud, for doing something that he didn't do. That was DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and the DOJ that prosecuted those people. That wasn't anybody in Minnesota. So they get on these platforms and they just spew. And Kristen Welker didn't push back at all. That's why I wish there was some type of legal way they could pass a law where you have to be honest telling the news. And it was Barack Obama who changed it. We knew that they would skew the media somewhat, but when he was leaving office in 2016, they put an amendment in because it was illegal to use propaganda on your own citizens. Obama added an amendment that made it legal for the media to just make up stories, literally feed us knowing it's propaganda and it's false. And ironically, it was happening when Trump was starting his first presidency. And then what did we get? How many fake stories have we gotten since Trump? You notice that no other president had to deal with fake stories like this. None, because they would have been, the networks would have been hammered and sued. That's why now the First Amendment protects them, but also it's under that amendment. Because as somebody who is on the government, the United States networks, the federal, FCC, you have to follow certain guidelines and certain rules. But when the government institutes a new rule, coincidentally, when Trump was coming in office, there we have it. So I just wanted to bring y'all this update, make you laugh a little bit, and watch Tim Walz getting his butt whipped all across the media and online. He is getting souffled. So, and I'm here for it. But be on the lookout for the next video, because if you thought Tim Walz's fraud was bad, wait till you hear about Gavin Newsom and what's happening out there. Oh, and I'm gonna bring it to you. So if you've watched up to this point, I want to thank you from the top and bottom of my heart. If you haven't already, leave a comment. And if you haven't, hit that like button. And if you aren't subscribed, subscribe. Most importantly, as always, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.